From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, this is a Headache Soul production. Welcome to Just the Tip-Sters, America's favorite true crime podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Morgan. With me today is my handsome and talented co-host, Joshua Seagull Bevan.
No.
Flies in, craps over everything, and flies off.
Yeah. And sometimes steals your sandwich.
Yeah, right out of my hand. Snatches it right out of my hand as I'm standing on the beach contemplating life.
Are you going to finish that humble?
Yeah, right.
Don't wait for an answer. Just
Joshua Livingston Seagull Bevan. You're such a seagull.
Uh-huh. All right.
Yeah, I really like that one. And I'm tired of cleaning up your crap, buddy. Yeah. Aim your butt out the window.
Stop inviting me over.
You're right. I take responsibility for this. I have to put down the pads, the poop pads.
I'm not the one who diarrheaed on the rug this morning.
Not you yet. We can blame Siren, but I'm not convinced. I'm going to set up a nanny cam to see if it's Siren or you.
I came early.
Yeah, and shit, and then left and then came back like, hi, it's my first time here today.
Yeah.
Right. I haven't seen you yet.
Good to see you for the very first
time this morning. Because I wasn't here earlier shitting on your rug in the dining room.
Siren was so confused.
Yeah. She's like, why is he shitting? Am I supposed to do that too?
Oh boy.
She loves her Uncle Joshua. Oh. Yeah. I sent Joshua a text this morning like, it's going to be a day. Here is Siren's newest memory foam bed that is in 1,000 pieces. And the fascinating thing about my girl is that she works harder, not smarter, because it has a zipper. It had a zipper cover. You could take it off. No, she found a string and then ripped open the end and then went in and got the memory foam into shreds. So I'm hoping that maybe she has a very good memory now, consuming some memory foam. Is that how it works?
I don't think that's how it works.
Oh, okay. No, well, you know, I'm always trying to see the glass half full or the memory foam bed only half destroyed.
No.
Yeah. Third bed in a short amount of time.
And this is like Sealy or something, right?
No, the first one was a Serta.
Yeah.
Serta like memory foam orthopedic dog bed.
Yeah.
Looked like a couch.
Okay.
It was adorable. And she wouldn't stop fucking it. She kept fucking the bed, even though she's too tall and she can't like reach it. She's air humping the bed. So I gave that to a Great Dane rescue because it was big. It was a very big one. Right. And then I got her a second one that was like round. And then she ate all the fur off that after she tried to hump it. Again, she's too tall. So this one, she didn't bother to fuck before she killed it. She just killed it.
Okay.
So I guess maybe she's progressing.
That sounds better to me.
Much like the serial killer we're going to talk about today.
Boy, oh no.
My dog has progressed from fucking to killing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Thank goodness it's just dog beds.
Yeah.
But hopefully, it doesn't progress to anything else.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. It's so funny. I guess female dogs that are fixed, that is a way of dominating things.
Okay.
And I was like,
makes sense.
I feel like maybe I've been doing it wrong all my life because I never felt dominated when somebody was trying to have sex with me. I'm usually anyway. I think women are in charge. But anyway.
Sure.
I just never felt dominated. Like, let me put it this way. Not in a real way. Like, oh, look, you're so big and strong. Whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
it's my decision.
It's part of the part of the fun.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly.
Okay, I'm with you now.
So I never, I never felt like, oh, this is very dominating. Unless I wanted it to be, and it was like you said, fun. So yeah, she's dominating her beds.
I mean, and we've talked about this plenty of times.
Yeah, and gotten our ass handed to us.
Probably don't need to get into it more. But yeah, it's absolutely the submissive one is the one that is really in charge.
Yeah, I like that description.
Because
so maybe the memory foam
if you don't
beds,
want to submit to it, then you don't, and then the game's over.
Right. So maybe her memory foam beds are actually in charge of her, and she just doesn't know it.
Oh yeah, that could be.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, what do you need to Dominate. Like, I'll show you who's boss.
Yeah.
Memory foam bed.
I don't
Just because I lay on you and you're comfortable, I'll show you. I'll destroy you.
I don't know. And what kind of smell? Like,
do I need to call Cesar Milan? She needs some time at the dog psychology center, doesn't she? And you know what they're going to say? No, ma'am, it's you. Yeah. You need to be. Get into the corner of the pen and watch the others. On
the way in.
Yeah. On the memory foam orthopedic dog bed. Yeah. And then you need to be in the pen in the corner and watch how the other dogs behave. And then maybe you'll be a more, well-rounded pet owner, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, how did we get on that? What's wrong? Oh, I told you I sent you the, Did you shit on my rug?
Because you said, hey, we've got a lot to get through.
Yeah, let's talk about shitting on the rug.
Don't slow me down.
Yeah, and then I'm going to go left turn. Okay. Right. Hold on, left turn at Albuquerque. Siren has the shits and Joshua beat her to it. So, yeah, that's how my life's going.
Oh, boy.
Poor Joshua. God bless you for being so non-judgmental. Sometimes he comes over and I have makeup on and clothes without food stains. And then days like today, he shows up and I'm like, can you just hug me for a minute? Because my dog's insane and I just look like I crawled out of a dumpster that was on fire. So thank you for being not judgmental.
I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, hugs? Okay.
No, it was for me.
We can do this.
I was like, no, please hug me. My dog's trying to kill me.
Because I'm basically a golden retriever myself.
I did not see your tail wagging. I did not see that. Maybe I need to be paying attention. All right, Seagull. So this is exciting. We're going to talk about a new sponsor, and I am truly in love with them. I think I have been using Magic Mind now for about a month, and I will not be stopping. I love it, and it has made such a difference in how I feel. I know I have mentioned that I have some autoimmune issues, and I had a little bit of a resurgence of that recently, and was so tired. I couldn't understand where it was coming from, what it was, and I really struggled. And I feel like Magic Mind came along at the perfect time. It's a 2-ounce bottled, elixir, and it's phenomenal. You either will or won't like the taste. Hopefully you're going to love it like I do, because I'm pretty picky. You can drink it alongside coffee or by itself if you are caffeine sensitive. They don't want it to be considered a caffeine replacement in your life. They just want it to be an enhancer. And this all started when the owner, James, went to the ER because he thought he had a heart condition, and it was that he had too much stress and too much caffeine. And he decided that day to limit his intake of caffeine and to figure out the stressors in his life. And, health professionals said, you know what, green tea has compounds that can extend the absorption of caffeine in your body and keep you calm while also helping keep you alert. And he had never thought of that. And he added that as an ingredient. And over 106 iterations later, Magic Mind is a productivity shot that, somehow boosts your energy and also helps you feel calm and even throughout the day. That's what it does for me. I am madly in love with it. If you subscribe, you can have, any sort of question or issue that you have answered immediately by hello@magicmind.com. They also, give you a text number that you can text them and say, hey, what's going on? This is what I'm doing. How am I doing? Am I doing it right? I love their customer service, but more importantly, I love their product. It has helped me keep a steady, calm energy throughout the day. It has benefits that are, buildable daily. It takes, they say, 7 to 10 days to get in your system. I'll just let you know, I felt better immediately. I felt better right away. So there's focus, there's energy, and then there's less stress in your life. And if that sounds good to you, because we're really here to walk each other home, and we really need to take care of ourselves, even if our mission is to take care of others, we need to take care of ourselves first. And Magic Mind helps me do that. So I hope that you will go to magicmind.com and in the promo area put Tip-Sters 20. And I hope that you enjoy this as much as I do and feel the benefits. I just can't say enough about the company and the product, and I feel like a different person. So at some point, Joshua and I are going to be talking about hopefully contrasting and comparing two different series that are streaming on Netflix. One is Baby Reindeer and one is called Bodkin. And I want to wait until he's seen both of them.
Yeah.
And he knows a little bit about each of them, but I think he needs to experience them.
No, I'm looking forward to this.
They're both really quirky and really interesting and very well made, but they're very different. Baby Reindeer is becoming a huge sensation, and I honestly am just disgusted by it. I think it's amazing that the, writer and lead actor, got Netflix to allow him a budget and film this nightmare.
It's not good.
Yes, it's well done.
Okay.
It's extremely well done considering what it is, which is nightmare fuel.
Okay.
Weird mental health issues and weird experience and stalking and,
Okay.
and the woman portrayed may have been identified. The character's name is Martha, and she may have been identified as a woman named Fiona Harvey, who is milking this for all it's worth in the opposite direction, saying that he was the stalker and that he is mentally ill and she didn't do anything. And it's really ugly and dramatic, and it will make you think. And I almost a couple times stopped watching it because it was so difficult, and you can't explain the difficulty. It's something you'll have to work through in your own mind. I almost stopped watching it, but much like a car accident, I couldn't stop watching it. So Bodkin, much different. It's a little lighter. It still involves murder.
Okay.
But it's, there's nobody gets murdered in Baby Reindeer.
All right.
Sometimes you wish they would, but they don't. Bodkin is a dark comedy series. I think it's about 7 episodes long. And I'm not a huge fan of Will Forte, but he does a great job. He's very subtle in this. He's not his usual over the top goofball self. Yeah. He's still goofy, but he's playing into it in a beautiful way. And it's, filmed in Ireland, a bunch of Irish actors who are just top notch. The supporting cast is phenomenal. And the story is about a true crime podcaster. So, yeah. And about the
you can relate? Is that
no? This person, this character takes what he does. He takes himself extremely seriously.
Okay.
When maybe he shouldn't.
Got it.
And he had it's real in that it's him trying to save his podcast by doing something kind of large and grandiose, because his first year was very successful because he talked honestly about his wife's health issues, and then she went into remission, and then the second and third seasons didn't do as well because things were good. So a very, kind of blunt British journalist says, your podcast is pornography. So I have heard people call true crime murder porn.
Sure.
I don't feel murder porny. I don't feel like I'm a pornographer of any sort. I tend not to talk about the really awful details of things, but sometimes you have to. Like I've left out a whole lot of things in this coming episode that I know about, because they don't need to be, you will get an idea of who this person is. You don't need to know the details that are remarkably terrible.
Got it.
So both of these projects, Baby Reindeer and Bodkin, have great casts, like great casts. I don't know how to categorize Baby Reindeer. I guess you would call it like a first person drama, because he is, Richard Gadd is a Scottish comic who's really bad, admittedly a really bad comic. And he took something he experienced and turned it into a one-man show, which was then purchased by Netflix, is really uncomfortable. It's just, if you want to talk about pornography, to me, it's like watching someone's mental health devolve.
Oh, okay.
I hated everybody. I hated every character, but the actors were amazing. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hated them all. It's extremely raw. The one thing I will say about Richard Gadd is that he is honest with everyone's flaws, including his own.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't make himself look like a hero and everyone else look like shit. He makes everyone look like shit. Okay. Everyone looks like shit.
Perfect.
It's going to be an emotionally intense roller coaster if you haven't seen it. Right. So.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So this case that we're going to talk about today was part of my final exam in criminal profiling class, which was fascinating. And I showed a few of the slides. We had to do a 10 slide PowerPoint for our final exam. No, that's a lie. We had to do a 9 slide PowerPoint, and I added a 10th. She said we could add more, just summarizing his psychopathy. And, you know, there are a lot of people who feel like his last victim was his wife. I don't know if I agree. I mean, anyone who does something like this, upsets everyone's life. The victim's friends, the victim's family. And if there's someone in their own life, you just turn upside down their life. Right. I don't know that I would call her a victim. I think there were signs, not that maybe she could have known it would be as bad as it was, but I think it's, I vacillate between wanting to be very involved in a partner's life and letting them have their own shit.
Sure.
I'm very naive. And if Mark had, like a weird second life, I don't know that I would have known it. I might have. When he died suddenly, I was so petrified I'd find out he had a second life and a baby or something with someone else.
I think it probably would have come up by now.
Yeah, I think so too. Right. I think I was petrified, and that's me. That's on me, just an insecurity. But, he worked a lot. He was gone a lot. And I thought he could have set up. I mean, people that are gone a lot less than him have, separate lives. Sure. And no one seems to know. So, but also Mark was not a narcissistic psychopath.
Well, there was that.
There is that. Yeah. So this is the fascinating story of, it's hard to call him serial killer, but he would have absolutely escalated if he'd killed one more person, Russell Williams. And Russell, it's a really fascinating case. If you aren't familiar with it, you can find really interesting things online, not just the written word, but Canada did something really revolutionary in my mind because Russell Williams was so much of an outlier and so different. Mm-hmm. They published his confession tapes when he's being questioned. It was about 7 hours being questioned. And you have to give it to this RCMP officer. He knew how to question someone like Russell Williams. And it really couldn't have been easy because, like a lot of serials, he thought he was the smartest guy in the room, and he actually could have been. Okay, he was gifted in a lot of ways, and he didn't. He was such an outlier in every single way. He didn't come across as pompous. He was withholding a little bit, kind of judging, what do you know about me? But then when he's, realizes he's cornered, he's like, all right, do you have a map?
Wow.
It's a really fascinating interview. We got to watch it and I was like, I wonder where she got this, the professor. But Canada does a couple things right. I hate that they don't have any sort of death penalty, but I get that. Not everyone wants that. What they do is that if you do the absolute worst thing on earth, take another person's life, you get 25 years. Okay. I feel like you should get more than that.
Sure.
The death penalty, I also understand, and I am, very, I'm not anti-death penalty, but I am definitely more neutral than I used to be, because I used to be an eye for an eye. Fuck you. You kill someone, you died.
Sure. Yeah.
Not anymore, because of the number of innocent people that have been put to death. Right. That's what stops me, because I still believe if you put someone to death, you should fucking die.
Right.
But if you don't die at the hands of the government or an executioner, I feel like you should die in a prison.
Yeah. I mean,
for the rest of whatever your natural life is.
Yeah.
25 years may not be enough. Okay. But I think they put some things into place that will keep him there for the remainder of his life, partially because he started late.
Okay.
He's a late life serial. He really is.
Late bloomer.
He is.
Wow.
He's a complete outlier.
Huh.
And I'm hoping I'm not going to get too far in the weeds here, because it is so fascinating. But, Russell Williams had risen to the rank of colonel in the Canadian Royal Air Force. He was a gifted child. He went to several schools in Canada that were, for those that are gifted. He and his brother both. Before I get to that, though, he was born in England. And at the age of 5, his mother and father moved. His father was in a job, not exactly military, but sort of science related, and moved the family to Canada.
Got it.
Now, in the early 70s, I didn't know this. Your Canadian cousins to the north of us surprise me all the time. In the 70s in Canada, wife swapping was like going to the grocery store.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, had no idea.
All right. Go Canada.
The swinging 70s.
Get her done. All
yeah. Right. So his parents swapped regularly with another couple, but they didn't, so Russell had a younger brother who's 4 or 5 years younger than him, Harvey. So it was the 2 boys.
Okay.
And they, from all accounts, this is another reason he's an outlier, feel loved. Mm-hmm. They, every time their parents were swinging, they had a babysitter that watched them, at one house or the other where the swinging wasn't happening.
Oh, okay.
As far as they knew, this couple was friends of their parents. Like, hey, we're all going out to dinner. Yeah. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Dinner is my friend's wife. That's her nickname. Hey, dinner.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they didn't like do weird things in front of them. They were, upper middle class. They, by all accounts, had a good relationship with their parents. Okay. It ends up that both sets of parents get divorced. The other set of parents had 3 kids and they had 2 kids. So all 5 kids were, close. They grew up close. Uh-huh. They, were watched by apparently a babysitter that did not molest them. And they get divorced and marry the other partner.
They both switched?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, by all accounts, Russell and Harvey had a great relationship with their mother. They lived with their mother and stepfather. Oh. And they had a great relationship with their father and other stepmother.
So after that, do they still swap?
That I don't know. Maybe they swapped until they realized, hey, I would rather be with this person. And then I don't think it still went on now that we talk about it.
Keepsies?
Yeah. I don't think no. But all of the parents showed up at every event or award ceremony, all 4 of them.
Wow. So it was a full on
weird Brady Bunch meets Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice or whatever. Yeah.
Quadrangle.
Quadrangle. Yeah. Mm. I don't know what you would call it. You're right. But yeah, I mean, it is an odd story, but it doesn't have to be, monstrous or traumatic. Okay. It could have been. I mean, they were teens when this happened. Maybe that's a very difficult time.
Yeah.
But, even though the boys stayed with their mom and stepfather, who the stepfather, they say, was a little more closed off than their biological father, but not to the point of being traumatic, just like a little closed off, was also remarkably supportive of all of the kids, but Russell and Harvey stood out because they were smarter and athletic and were interested in, music and poetry and philosophy and
cool,
interesting things, these kids. So it ends up that Russell goes to the University of Toronto after having some really good experiences in a elevated high school. So he goes to, the University of Toronto and he majors in politics and business.
Okay.
And he graduates like summa cum laude or something.
Wow. All right.
Like with honors. And he, shares a rental house with 4 other roommates. But there are signs, that things are different.
Okay.
He doesn't talk a lot about his family. He just doesn't really talk about them too much, which, okay.
Sure.
You're in college.
Yeah. I can't picture talking with any of my college buddies about.
Well, maybe, like, oh, my dad's a dick or something. He doesn't reveal positive or negative about his family. He just doesn't talk about it much.
Yeah.
So maybe not close, or maybe like, oh, you know how moms are. Just like nothing.
Yeah.
Like almost a staunch refusal.
All right.
That's the part that the roommates noticed.
Okay. It's to the point of noticing it. Sure. All right.
There might be something there,
yeah.
And it's also, a lot of this is on hindsight.
Right.
It's like somebody's a little bit different. Okay. But he's succeeding. He's, what I find a small detail that's interesting is that he used his stepfather's name through high school. And then when he got to college, he went back to his biological father's name, which was Williams.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe because he's then like of age and like.
Now he gets to choose.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I don't know that his mom made him take his stepfather's name, but if you're underage, maybe that's what happened. But I do find it interesting he went back to his biological father's name.
Yeah.
And again, didn't have a bad relationship with anyone.
Right.
Any of the 4 parents.
No.
As far as we know. There were some signs of him having a control issue when he would enact really big practical jokes on his roomies. He would hide in a closet for hours.
Oh, boy.
Hours until someone came home and then jump out and scare them.
Wow.
Hours. He worked during college at the college and snuck in the night before and took a bunch of printer paper and wadded it up in balls and basically covered a coworker's office with like
paper balls,
paper wads, and waited for her to come in the next morning and then captured her reaction on film.
Okay. I mean, that sounds like a healthy practical joke though. Like,
right. Until we get a little further down.
We get later. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So he, he's a college boy and he took it upon himself to assign all of his other roommates a rotating weekly chore list. Sure. And he insisted on cleanliness and tidiness in a rental house with 5 college men. I think that would be difficult to achieve.
Probably.
But even then, he was known as the drill sergeant. I mean, I feel like that is a precursor to the level of control that he wants to have,
Sure.
I think that's, and then catching her on camera.
Yeah.
That's sort of interesting, which you'll find out he does that afterwards. It's, how this progresses,
Right.
It starts, he becomes obsessed with the movie Top Gun. And, he has a need for speed, I guess. And he decides, he graduates with honors having a double major.
Nice.
In politics and business. And everyone was like, oh, he's going to go into the private sector. He's going to be some, really successful whatever. And he applies to the RCMP and he applies to the Royal Air Force. And he's accepted by both of them, but decides to go into the Air Force.
All right.
And everyone's like, what?
Why?
The military?
Huh.
Yeah, it's very interesting. But he, I feel like, has the perfect constitution or brain for this because he's, regimented and, and it also, I think, shows that he was able to push back feelings for so long.
Yeah.
Which is why he becomes a late in life serial.
Got it.
That's just my opinion, So he, had a girlfriend in college and she broke his heart and he was single for a while. And then he's late 20s. He just, was like, he couldn't get over this girlfriend, which I think might've just been, this is what I'm going to use to explain why I'm not going to be close to someone.
Right.
And he meets a woman who is 5 years older than him. So he's like 28 and she's 33.
Okay.
And Mary Elizabeth Harriman. And they get married. And she is no slouch. She becomes the head of the Heart and Stroke Foundation for the entire country of Canada.
Wow.
She is like the executive director. So here's someone who, is dedicating her life to working toward helping others, something where people are, having a medical issue.
Right.
So, and here is her husband who is climbing up the ranks. He becomes one of the 1% of men who qualify to become a pilot. 1%. Okay. It's a difficult thing to become a pilot in the Royal Canadian Air Force.
Sure.
I didn't know that, but
I didn't specifically, but I know it's really difficult in the, American Air Force or in the American Navy. Like it's,
yeah. I don't know anything.
I know it's difficult.
Right.
But it's also a really great career path.
Right. I guess.
You go in and many people go in and they become a pilot and then they come back out and go to the private sector and, as a private pilot.
I wondered if he would ever do that. I think he would have been like a lifer
if he
in the military. I just do.
Sure. And that's not a bad career path either. No. That's a quite secure whole thing. Yeah.
Sure.
I think in the private sector as a pilot, it's a lot more lucrative and it's a lot more shiny. I don't know.
Right.
You get accolades. You're revered. Right.
Well, he, was by all accounts extremely respected in the military community. Okay. By 2010, he is a senior officer and he is a training officer. He trains other pilots.
Cool.
He was constantly doing overseas flights. Yeah. He was personally picked to fly Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip.
Wow.
He seemed to really rise up the ranks. The only thing that might have threatened his military career is he had apparently chronic arthritis in the spine.
Oof.
In his 40s, pretty young. And some people like to blame that he was prescribed, prednisone, which is, a steroid, right. But it's a corticoid steroid. It's not an anabolic. So it's not like Correct. He should have gone into a roid rage,
Right.
But, things that are that affect your chemistry that much, I don't think he had these feelings obviously way before he started taking steroids.
Right.
For back pain,
I would think so.
Yeah, I would think so too. So in 2007, he broke into a neighbor's home and spent 3 hours in the bedroom of their 12-year-old daughter.
Oh, boy.
He took numerous photographs of her underwear, arranged them, and then took pictures of himself wearing them.
Jesus.
The final photograph that he took is him laying on her bed while masturbating with her underwear.
Jeez.
He then stole a bunch of other, items that he could use, I guess, to kind of revisit his, paraphilia.
Oh, he stole them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But he has pictures of him using them for his own gratification. In September of 2009, 2 years after his original fetish burglary, he perpetrated his first sexual assault. Now, in the meantime, he has broken into some, 40 some houses.
Oh, whoa.
In these lovely, well-respected upscale areas of Orleans, and coinciding with he and his wife buying a second house, a lake house in an area called Tweed. So they have 2 homes.
Oh.
He doesn't work too far from home. He breaks into numerous homes because they're safe areas. Most of these things were not reported.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know someone was there. Maybe you're like, oh my God, the dryer ate my drawers again.
They're just missing.
Uh-huh.
Oh God, that's gross.
It's terrible.
Oh,
it is.
No.
This is one of the most disturbing things I've ever looked into. By the end, he has stolen over 1,400 items of lingerie.
Wow.
Each one photographed, cataloged. I mean, he is obsessive with his, details.
Okay.
So 2 years after he steals a 12-year-old girl's underwear, he breaks into a home with a young mother who has like an 8-week-old baby. And he records the sexual contact with video and photographs.
Oh boy.
Puts her in humiliating positions. He binds her. He blindfolds her. She's like, look, I just had a baby. I'm not attractive. And he said, oh no, you're perfect. Yeah. 2 weeks later, that woman is known as Jane Doe.
Okay.
There is another victim named Lori Massacott. We know her name. And he breaks into her home, does the same thing, binds her, blindfolds her. He seems obsessed with taking pictures of female genitalia and female rectums. And he's, he's amping it up sometimes 2 break-ins a night. Where he will break in and no one will be home, but he will take something or photograph himself naked in someone's house.
Oh my God.
Which they had no idea until, they caught him later. He makes kind of a mistake. I don't know that he would have escalated so quickly because 2 months later in November of 2009, he enters into the home of a Canadian Forces member, Marie Como.
Okay. And
she's young, like 32, and he spends 5 hours assaulting her, binding her, blindfolding her, raping her, and finally killing her. And they believe that he escalated to killing her because she fought back.
Oh.
Although we're going to find out in his next murder that the person who didn't fight back, that didn't help her either.
Got it.
So he, was more aggressive with Marie Como because she fought back. So there was more damage to her body, let's say.
Okay.
Because she fought back. She was a little Spitfire. She, they had actually interacted on a flight.
Oh, they knew each other before.
Like in a roundabout way.
Okay.
He didn't know her. He mostly struck women who lived alone, who didn't have a dog, who didn't have a man or a form of protection. And he did a lot of research beforehand.
Wow.
Breaking in 2 to 3 times before. Wow. Breaking in to steal or, and here's another way he's a complete outlier. Most serials perfect their MO. He's
getting sloppier.
Mm-hmm.
He's just getting more daring.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay.
He is he is the most fascinating, and he would have just, if a really simple thing hadn't happened, he would have just escalated and become, the Golden State Killer North.
Wow.
It was so similar. Huh. At one point, he's waiting in someone's home naked, and the wife comes home with a boyfriend, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he runs out the back door and scales a 6-foot fence with like ease.
Wow.
He was very athletic and trim. He was a runner that it really got harder for him with the arthritis in the back.
Sure.
But he still tried to keep up his, he was very lean and trim, and that was, I think, another probably issue, the physical part. Yeah. But I don't know if you remember, but Joseph D'Angelo jumped a bunch of fences. Okay. They thought he was like paramilitary or an athlete of some sort. Yeah. It was just, like the adrenaline pushed him to,
Sure.
So, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So his manner of killing them was usually mixed. It would be, he would maybe subdue them with blunt force trauma, hitting them in the head, but eventually it was asphyxia with his hands.
Just choking them or
strangling them. Yeah, he would put things around their neck, sometimes ropes and zip ties and pillowcases, but it eventually came down to them being actually losing their life at his hands.
Wow.
Which is one of the precursors to becoming an anger excitation killer. That is, the FBI has categories, So, the old school in the 80s developed, the FBI developed kind of, you're an organized or a disorganized killer.
Got it. Okay.
Organized killer plans, usually has a kill kit, takes great care to take everything with them, leave not a lot behind. Disorganized killers, sometimes it's a crime of opportunity, or, it's not that well planned.
Sure.
Sometimes they don't have a weapon. They use something in the house. They'll hit someone with it or stab someone with a knife in the kitchen. It's a fascinating mindset, these two different ways of doing it. What's another interesting part of Russell Williams is he was a extremely organized, pre-planned killer who devolved into a disorganized killer. Huh. He still kept some organization, you'll see, in his second murder, but it definitely is different. So the anger excitation killers are the rarest and the most deadly of all of the categories, and Williams is definitely that guy.
Wow. Okay.
A lot of anger excitation killers are, married, law-abiding citizens, live an exemplary lifestyle. We don't know what they're doing until they fuck up in something that happens in one of the scripts that they've, written on how to destroy a human being. They're not the loner, it's like he was quiet, kept to himself. Yeah, he may have been quiet, but he was married. He was in the military. He was personable. I mean, you can find videos of him on YouTube delivering all sorts of speeches, very positive, affirmative speeches.
Wow.
I know. But my favorite video is him being interviewed by this detective who just does an exemplary job, just an amazing job. So Marie Como, was posed on her own bed in a very, degrading way, and a comforter thrown over top of her. You can say that he threw the comforter over top of her, perhaps because he knew her slightly, like to hide, what you've done.
Got it.
2 weeks later, he is jogging and he runs across a beautiful woman who's on a treadmill in the upstairs of her house, and he can see her through the window. Beautiful 27-year-old woman, Jessica Lloyd. If he had any kind of a type, it was fairly small brunettes. But, some of the younger girls, were blonde, but the two adult women were brunettes, small brunettes who lived alone.
Okay.
She was like so loved and such a sweet, she, like, Marie Como is this military girl. She's a tiny little Spitfire, and she is very beautiful, but very naturally beautiful. Jessica Lloyd was 27 and exquisitely beautiful, wore a shit ton of makeup and wore it beautifully. And she was like beloved. Like her brother, hearing interviews with her brother will break your heart. And I am an only child. The love her brother had for her, just heartbreaking. Like, and she was the opposite of Marie Como. She was very complicit with everything he asked. And we know this because he recorded everything.
Oh, God.
He has pictures and videos of the last moments of these two women's lives.
Man.
Recording himself, in the frame, just recording them, recording him killing them.
Wow.
Just, well, we're going to get to what might cause that in a little bit later. But one of the most fascinating things I've ever heard is a detective who said a panty thief does not take women's underwear because he can't afford to buy them. He's motivated by sexual images related to these items, the fantasy, and then the associated sexual arousal. I mean, Russell Williams kept written catalogs, 2 different hard drives, like a backup hard drive to his backup hard drive.
Oh.
Categorizing. I mean, first of all, I said this in class and several people laughed and I felt like an asshole. Looking at his collection, I was like, he has taught me a really good way to fold my lingerie. It really was helpful. The way he had the bras and underwear lined up, I'm like, fuck. That looks like you went into Victoria's Secret and opened a drawer and they're just lined. I was like, God damn it. Yes.
No. God.
I know. I felt terrible saying it, but I have no filter and I just said it out loud. I'm like, shit, that's really well done right there.
This is better than Marie Kondo.
It is. It really is. If he wanted to teach some sort of class on how to categorize your drawers, and everything was matched.
Wow.
Like he went through it like a gradient color. Like they would start at white and go to light pink. And then, I mean, he's a fucking piece of shit. Anyway, she just did everything he asked. The only thing she asked is that the restraints on her wrists be lightened a little bit. And he would take direction from these women sometimes. If they said like, oh, this is, upsetting me or whatever, he would be like, okay. And he would loosen them a little bit.
Wow.
He spent 19 hours torturing her. Wow. Repeatedly raping her. Just there are so many details again that I don't need to tell you because you can imagine all the worst things you can. And that's what he did. He degraded these women and demeaned them beyond a sexual assault, just the things he didn't need to do. And he just did.
Wow.
So, she, at one point, you see her sitting bound on her bed and she's smiling in this recording because he's told her he's going to let her go.
Oh, no.
And he hits her in the head numerous times and she doesn't die. So then he manually strangles her to death. After 19 hours of him raping and torturing her in his little lake home in Tweed, he then stores her in the garage and goes to the Air Force Base and flies to Asia.
Oh, no. Oh, man. So
There's no blip in his career. I'll tell you what he did do to have extra time with her. He called in sick and said he had a stomach flu, but then showed up after he'd shoved her in his garage.
So this was all on the way to work then. He said, he told his wife, all right, honey.
She's in Ottawa.
Oh, okay. But
she's in the other house so she can be close to work. He's at the lake house relaxing, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Relax before my deployment.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you how I relax.
Right.
But, oh, man.
That's between me and my video camera.
Jeez. And then just goes to work.
Uh-huh. Yeah. What happened with Jessica Lloyd, in my mind, fascinating. And she is responsible for... She doesn't know she's responsible, but it's because of her that he has stopped. And when you talk about all of this psychopathy, which is really fascinating. 2,937 photographs found.
Oh my God.
Again, 2 hard drives filled with pictures of the underwear categorized, but also pictures and videos of him just doing every goddamn thing. Videos of him in people's homes standing naked in a mirror. Obviously obsessed with his own image, but
well, for sure, because why else would you take the video?
To relive it.
Like, I mean, that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to go home and watch it
to relive your
whole thing,
excitement and your sexual gratification.
Yeah, because he's not taking it for evidence.
No,
he's
taking it to relive it.
Yeah.
So here's how he fucked up. He broke into, Marie Como's home and violated her in her own home because she lived alone, and left her there in her own home and did the best he could to remove all of the evidence. But there was, saliva on the back of her neck. Now, here's how he fucked up with Jessica Lloyd. He abducted her from her home.
Okay.
He parked his Nissan Pathfinder behind her home. Whoa. in a field, like a service road.
Okay.
Behind her home.
And somebody saw it.
A female police officer saw because he liked to sit and wait a long time.
Sure.
A female police officer, RMPC officer, saw this unmanned,
right?
Because Jessica was at a party. She was out with friends, and he's waiting in her home. Saw an unmanned SUV parked behind this house, kind of not out in the country, but kind of rural.
Right.
And took note of it.
Yeah.
Actually went up to it. It was open. Opened it, looked inside. No one was there. Just took note of it. And then that was it.
Okay.
He's waiting in her house.
And he was inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She comes home. There was 1 set of footprints walking up to her home and 2 sets walking out. He walked her out to his SUV.
Walked her out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Abducted her, drove her to his house in Tweed, raped and tortured her for 19 hours, called in sick, said he had a stomach flu, told her he's going to let her go, and then killed her, and then put her in the garage.
Wow.
Flies to Asia, is gone for 36 hours, comes back, and puts her body in a field.
Wow.
Now, the female officer's like, hey, the girl in that house is missing? Well, I saw an SUV.
Right.
I can't remember exactly what kind it was.
Okay.
But it's an SUV.
Yeah.
We're going to take tire prints.
There you go.
And footprints. So you want to talk about good old-fashioned shoe leather stopping a serial killer?
Wow. Okay.
Because you're really not supposed to be classified as serial until you kill 3 people, but we're going to call him a serial killer.
Sure. We know it was coming.
Yeah, we absolutely do. So they stop every SUV that's going up and down this main road.
Because it's a small kind of rural area. Mm-hmm. So, okay.
They figure out from the tires that it's a Nissan Pathfinder.
Okay.
So they talk to him and he's like, yeah, sure. They, gets out of the car. They, he's like, he's an officer. We got to put him back in his car and get him on his way.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Why, he's beyond reproach.
For sure.
They bring him in to talk to him. And 7 hours later, he says, all right, give me a map.
Wow.
He is so unique in every way. He starts organized and devolves to disorganized. He, he's an outlier. I love that they're asking him questions. My favorite question was, did you hate these women or did you like these women? And he said, I don't know the answer to that. And I'm pretty sure those answers don't matter.
Wow. So neutral. It just... Huh.
When they say to him, how are you so precise about the location of Jessica Lloyd's body? And he goes, it's just the way I am. I have to know all the numbers.
God. Huh.
So many, extreme forensic psychologists who have dealt with so much have looked at him. Robert Ressler, I'm going to say names that if you know this world, you're going to know what I mean. Robert Ressler, John Douglas, people that are highly acquainted, the BAU in the Behavioral Analysis Unit in the FBI and Quantico. They're all authors, books like Sexual Homicide, A Motivational Model, the American Psychiatric Association on Paraphilic Disorders. A lot of this information came from an amazing doctoral student in Canada, whose name I think was William Russell, and he said, coincidentally, we're not related.
Okay.
He's not related, but it's you can find it very easily online. It's amazing, and these forensic psychologists and profilers are like, look, we've seen every kind of serial killer, but he doesn't resemble any of them.
Huh.
He doesn't resemble any of them.
It's amazing.
So it was sort of odd to see him break down, but I'm telling you, this detective starts off so like, at first he addresses him like, Colonel,
Okay.
making him feel above.
Okay.
And then he's sort of, hey, I've been doing this a while, so they're equal.
Puts him, okay.
Uh-huh. And then he comes in for the kill, but quietly.
Huh.
It's very subtle. That's what I'm saying. If you can find the videos, because I applaud, here's the things Canada does correct in my mind. They put information about people who do horrible things out there for everyone to know and see and maybe learn from. And they have professional jury pools. I've discussed this. I think that's a brilliant use of the judicial system.
Absolutely.
I don't want a jury of my peers because they would be all fucked up. I want somebody who knows the law.
Right.
Who understands the law.
Right. Absolutely.
I just think that's an amazing thing.
No, I mean, and the joke is, the truth of it is that everybody tries to get out of jury duty. Mm-hmm. So the people who fail at trying to get out of jury, that's the jury.
Right.
Like,
right.
You weren't even good enough to figure out how to get out of.
Right. You're not smart enough to figure that out. And you're going to be judging me.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do appreciate that about them.
Right.
So one thing he says is, I'm going to assume we're going to be discreet here. He says that to the detective who's talking to him, and he's like, I don't know how discreet we can be.
What? He's being interrogated.
Mm-hmm. I think at that point, he had not fully accepted that, oh, you know what, I'm caught and I'm not going back to work.
Huh.
I'm not going back to my wife. He said,
wow,
I really worry about how my wife is going to take this. And the detective was like, yeah, I understand.
Huh.
He devolves a little more as time goes on. He is convicted on October 21st of 2010 of 2 murders, 2 sexual assaults, the Jane Doe and Lori Massacott, and 1 year for the 82 break-ins.
My God.
He is given 25 years each for the murders, 10 years each for the 2 sexual assaults, and 1 year for each of the 82 break-ins, which is 152 years of imprisonment.
Yeah, that's a lot of years.
Mm-hmm. And even though, he started late, so, I think he's right around my age. He's late 50s, maybe 60. And he devolved as time went on. During the trial, he cried. When they showed some of the more graphic things, he looked at that. But when they showed the softer side, he would look down, couldn't look at.
Wow.
Just cried a lot, wrote letters of apology to all the victims' families and to his wife.
Okay.
And she divorced him, immediately. Smart. As soon as he's arrested, she files. Tries to kill himself. Puts aluminum foil into a toilet paper tube and shoves it down his throat.
Because that's what he had access to?
I guess so.
That doesn't seem all that efficient.
Well, aluminum foil could stop up your breathing.
I guess.
He wrote his suicide note in mustard on the walls of his cell.
Okay.
saying it's too hard to live.
Wow. That was the whole note?
No, it was longer than
okay.
that. I don't know how much access to mustard
packets he had.
And in typical style, he had done a dry run the night before to see how long it would take guards to find him. He had mapped it out.
Tested it.
But then the following day, he tried to complete it, but they got to him in time.
Wow. This guy.
Huh. The thing that I thought was so interesting that someone said that I thought, well, you know what? You can call this, pornography. I don't want to call it pornography because I feel like we can all learn from something like this that,
Sure.
not trust people, but to be aware of things around us. I mean, like the female cop saying, look, there's an abandoned or a there's no one in this SUV.
Right.
I'm going to take note of it. And then finding out later, oh shit.
Right.
She was in also a different jurisdiction. And while that hampered things a little bit as far as the break-ins and the lingerie stealing, they ended up talking to each other. We're talking about little rural areas.
Got it.
And officers that don't come up against this. Even in big cities, this would be a weird thing. But this historian at Ryerson University, and he's the author of a book called Serial Killers, The Method and the Madness of Monsters. He said, very few serial killers appear to be monsters lurking in the dark with blood dripping off their fangs. They're often attractive, successful, well-spoken, popular, educated, socialized individuals that live among us as neighbors and fellow workers. And even sometimes they're our fathers, husbands, and sons.
Whew, that's scary.
It is scary, but to me, this is like one of those things where we all have a gut instinct. There were signs.
Yeah.
I don't know that if anyone paid attention to the signs that they could have stopped them. But, living a separate life, a lot of couples don't, maybe for work or whatever reasons, economics, they don't always stay together all the time.
Right.
I will tell you, I would be an amazing witness for the prosecution because I'm so far up my partner's ass. I'm a fucking kernel of corn in their turds. You know what? I mean, but I still am naive.
Right.
But I like to be, if I'm with someone, I want to be with them.
Yeah.
I want to know what they're doing. I ask about their day. Even if I don't understand what they do, I learned a lot about, risk management and the law talking to Mark.
Sure.
Because I was interested in what he did.
Right.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I mean, talking about your day is one thing. I mean, but yeah, like you said, Mark was a great guy, and his career took him
far away a lot,
all over the place, and whatever. Even if this guy's wife were really interested in, he still could have.
I know. I mean, but having separate homes. I mean, I'm also I have low self-esteem and a big issue with thinking something's going on. So I used to say to Mark, I'm going to do like a spot check. I'm going to show up at your work, and he was, sweetheart, you can show up anytime. I'm like, is there someone under your desk blowing you? And he goes, no, it's me and Teresa. And I'm like, who's Teresa? And he goes, the cleaning lady. She's in the hallway. She waved at me. I'm like, oh, okay. You can come by any time. And I'm like, I just might, mister.
Yeah.
I just might.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's who I am. Can you imagine being married to me?
God,
that poor man put up with so much stuff. That was not a proposal.
I've made the mistake of going down that thought path,
Like then you stop yourself immediately. No, I'd kill her in her sleep. I would become a serial killer because she wouldn't shut up. I get it. I know who I am. I get it.
Some people like that kind of thing.
Those people are probably women, though. That's the problem. Oh, Russell Williams. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to read the book, Russell Williams' Last Victim, his wife, Mary Elizabeth Harriman, but I couldn't get myself to.
She wrote that book?
No, someone else wrote it about her.
Okay,
yeah, I wanted to read it, but I couldn't. And it's not that I don't think she's not a victim too, because I absolutely do. But I just...
Right.
This is not victim blaming. I'm not blaming this woman for what he did.
Right.
I might be putting a little blame on her for not being more aware, but she was a very busy executive.
Sure.
That doesn't mean, that she was ignoring him or they were leading separate lives. He also was so adept at keeping a separate life.
He did. It wasn't like he accidentally did any. He did all of this so
planned. Yeah.
There's no way. I mean, until of course like you were saying later on, he started making mistakes.
Can you imagine calling in at work? You're like the head of the Royal Air Force of Canada, and you're like, I have a stomach bug, or I have a girl I'm killing. You pick which one you want to put down on my official requisition for time off.
Here's my sick thought process.
Oh no, here we go. What?
Did he call in, and was he calling in, and she was, being tortured in the background?
Yes.
Oh no, that was just my stomach.
Oh, right. No, I was gonna say, she's like, what's that? Oh, my stomach. Oh my God, I got the screaming shits. I gotta go. Yes, I think you're right. No, I don't think you are. I think you're right.
Oh God.
I think you're right.
No, I mean, he was good.
He was good, and then he got.
There's no way that
good.
and then he. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
can you imagine breaking into 82 homes and only 40 something of them were reported? Can you imagine?
Wow. That's just so disturbing. The other all the other ones
didn't notice.
They found out later.
Yep.
Because they saw the pictures.
Yes. And the videos. It's like, oh, he was in my house trying on my daughter's underwear.
He was laying on the bed naked.
Yeah.
That's just
God. Wearing some of their underwear on his face, covering his face. And then, you find out later, like half of these crimes were not even reported. And here's how he devolved. He would find women who lived alone or people that were out of town close by his house, each house.
Right.
Break in because these were safe areas, an unlocked sliding door, an unlocked basement door, an unlocked window. Got to where slit a screen, break a window. I mean, he devolved into being sloppier to get what he wanted.
Sure.
But half of the crimes were not known that they were victimized until after he was caught.
God, that's so weird.
It's disturbing as fuck. And granted, this is 2007 to 2010, but I don't have a nanny cam. I now feel like I should get one so Joshua doesn't shit on my rug. But and then blame Siren.
I would learn exactly where the camera edge was and come around the side.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
no, I don't have a nanny cam. I do have to tell you, my dog sitter said some of her clients do.
Oh.
But it's still like that wink, wink to watch their dogs when they're at work or whatever. I don't want to know anything that much.
Yeah.
I really don't.
No.
Yeah, I do. I would want to know if someone's breaking into where my drawers, but
on their face while they're
masturbating on my bed. Yeah. I do want to redo my laundry drawer just to make it. Yeah. I thought I had a pretty good system, but man, when you see the pictures, you're like, shit. Dude, write a manual or something. Okay. Do a TED talk from prison on how you categorize your drawers, man.
I mean, what else is he going to do with his 150 years?
Write letters on and mustard on the wall.
Yeah.
He's going to run out of condiments, and they should all right, so it just give him a whole bunch of drawers. Show us how you do it. Because I'm telling you what, I'm looking at it like, son of a bitch. And the ones he took pictures of himself, all matching sets.
Well, of course.
He didn't have one color drawers and one color bra. Nope.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I hate to say it, he looked okay in some of them.
Oh, really?
I mean, he's furry. He doesn't make himself look female in any way. But, he was a lean athlete.
I mean, he can scale walls and stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
wearing black lacy drawers.
Oh my God.
Yeah. All right, I'm shutting up now.
Speaking of devolving.
Yeah. I may have gone down a terrible lingerie rabbit hole.
This whole thing may have devolved.
Yeah. It's his fault. I'm going to blame him.
Oh, no.
But if you want to find out about the psychopathy of somebody who is absolutely terrible, but also fascinating, you can find so much information about Russell Williams. I mean, yeah, you can find videos of the interrogation. You can see still pictures of, him in the drawers. I use some of those in my PowerPoint slides,
Nice.
as backup. That just made me feel better. Like, look, I want you to see what a horrible monster this person is.
Right.
So if you have a tip on a missing person or an unsolved homicide, or you just want to suggest a case to us, give us a call at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. You can always email us at jttipsters@gmail.com. And you can find us on any of the social media platforms. Just the Tipsters Facebook page, at JT Tipsters on Instagram, at JT Tipsters Pod on Twitter, the Just the Tipsters YouTube page, and more cowbell.
If you would like to support this podcast and get early access and other cool murderous swag, go to patreon.com/justthetipsters.